Good morning, everyone. Today's Monday, April 5th, 2021. This is a special meeting for a solid waste update. Attending Commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Filios. John Phillips is presenting to us, as well as Doug Goodwin, his operations manager, and of course our principal planner, Lorene Chaffin. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. First item, and these are all discussion items, rural sites, power and lighting.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having me, John Phillips, for the record. As far as rural sites go, I just wanted to give you an update on Micah and the Sunup site. So currently we have the power in, the lights have been hooked up, everything's good to go. We've had some really positive feedback from local residents, as well as site managers have stopped by and taken a look at it. The sites are, as I've been told, daylight bright at night, which is pretty impressive. It looks like it's cutting down on some of the improper disposal at night. It's still, you know, as people get used to it and they realize there's not security cameras yet, that may change, but eventually the plan is to get some security cameras there, and that should really help those sites out.
Now, how many sites?
So that was 2 sites. So that was the Micah and the Sunup Bay site. So the Micah site's actually on Kid Island Bay Road, and then the Sunup Bay site is on Sunup Bay Road.
Got it.
Then also we are working on the Worley site, so in Worley, Idaho. The landfill crew will be digging in, performing the trenching and installing the conduit to save the county some money. Then Avista will be setting a new pole and pulling the wire. And the trenching should occur this week, and then Avista said in short order they would take care of the hookup. The light poles are already installed there and ready to go, and they're in a similar configuration to what we did at Sunup. So I'm anticipating similar results. It should be daylight bright and should cut down on some of that improper disposal.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah. Any questions on that one? Okay. Construction projects 2021. We're still working on several different items for the solid waste department. One is the Ramsey Z walls. The engineer firms are working on putting together the rough design and construction services agreement. I'll likely be bringing this before the board soon. Estimated 60% design should occur later this month, and hopefully we'll have an agreement in place later this month. 100% design is estimated in May. The construction is estimated to occur between June and September. And so that's for the Z-wall, so the area where we plan to put metal into the tops of trailers, some additional area, and then that'll free up some existing Z-walls that we're using for metal that were really designed for garbage or for full-size trailers. So we'll have more capacity at Ramsey to kind of clear up some of that congestion. That's the goal of that project. So, any questions on that one? The Fighting Creek landfill, we have a 40 by 60 storage building and some associated dirt work that we're preliminarily working on. The firm that we're using for that is still working on details and finalizing their professional services agreement as well. I'm set to meet with the engineer later this week to work through some of those details so that we can bring that before the board and get that project rolling. Construction on this project is still anticipated to finish in October of 2021, hopefully that early October time frame. We're right on track. Any questions on that one?
Okay. For me.
Also at the Fighting Creek landfill, we have some work to stake the edges of E3. So E3 is East Cell Phase 3, and that is a cell where we'll be placing garbage in the future. What I've asked the engineers to do is to give us some points and have a company come in, put in some grade stakes so we know exactly where to take dirt out in order to use that dirt to cover the existing waste. So the side slopes, which we call that intermediate cover. So on the sides of the landfill, you'll lay down typically 2 feet of dirt, and we'll put that in place as an interim or a temporary cover until we final close someday, or in areas where you don't plan on putting garbage in that area for a few years. So we want to know those areas so we can pull the dirt out and pre-prepare that area for the placement of waste. It'll save the county money in the long run if we take dirt out of the correct location so we don't have to pay a contractor to excavate the dirt in that area to make the cell someday. So there's some work to do that. We will also be having a flyover performed this year. So there will be a plane or a drone that flies over the landfill, and we'll take some pictures and some other images so that they can determine the density of the waste that's in place, and then also take a look at some of those soil volumes that I'm talking about that exist in the area where garbage is to be put, and then also in our soil stockpile. The reason those things are important is you can try to estimate with compaction density how long your landfill is going to still last. And then when it comes to the soil volumes, again, it's for timing, figuring out how fast we need to move that dirt to make sure we're ready to go and we want to build that cell. And then also we look at how fast we're using that dirt, and if the dirt's going to last long enough for cover, or we may need to go to another location to get some dirt to cover the garbage. So we'll be working on all of that. Also, the South Cell landfill permitting process is coming up, and so we've been working on that. This is on the radar, but we're trying to get these other projects going first. We have a good start on the permitting since much of this preliminary work was started years ago. Recently, the engineering company put together a rough scope, but has not yet given us a cost estimate for final approval. We're still working on this, and we do plan to push forward with trying to get this done this year. So with that, do you have any questions on any of that stuff? Okay. With that, Doug Goodwin is going to take over, and he is going to talk about heavy equipment.
Go ahead, Doug.
Good morning, Commissioners. Doug Goodwin for the record. Just a quick update on some of the equipment for 2021. The Ramsey site got 2 transfer trailers this year. Those were piggybacked off of 2 years ago, so those are on site. They'll be online soon. The Prairie Transfer Station had a waste handler loader that we went out to bid in, I think, December, February. It's scheduled for the end of July. Talked to the salesman the other day. It'll probably be here in the June, first to mid part of June. And then Fighting Creek had a D8R dozer rebuild. It was picked up on the 26th of March, and it, again, scheduled for the end of July. So that was pretty much it for major equipment for the solid waste department for 2021.
What determines the need for a rebuild? I mean, is it a breakdown or is it a routine?
So this is a 1999 dozer. A new dozer is probably in the $1 million range. Rebuilding this, and it'll be almost like a brand new dozer, is like half that price.
Okay, good. Makes sense. Okay.
Any questions on the equipment?
Leslie, Bill? Thanks, Doug.
Lorene will go ahead and she'll be discussing wood waste and following up with waste.
So, Commissioners, you declared a state of emergency on the 13th of January, and we have been working with OEM for the FEMA reimbursement, and so we're tracking right along with that. I talked with Tiffany Westbrook on Friday, and the county has been assigned their caseworker, so things are really backed up with regards to the state, OEM, and FEMA because of the number of entities that have made claims this year. We're on track. We have our paperwork put together. Tiffany and I have worked out an agreement that solid waste will just continue to manage our expenses, and then I'll work with her about getting that put together. Initially, I put in that we had an estimate of $139,000 in costs that were related to the storm. So this is not anything to do with damage. This is about receiving that wood waste that is a direct result of that storm. We have, we've ground 3 different times. The first grind was almost immediately after the storm. That invoice was paid, and of that invoice, it was $52,500, so that first grind. Second grind was just a couple of days, and it was another $15,000. City of Coeur d'Alene put all of their wood debris on their Atlas site. That got ground. It was $33,500. And then the transfer station has done one final grind, which we estimate about 50% of that is related to the storm. That one gets a little dicey, and I'll have to work with FEMA as to what that percentage is. But at this point in time, I'm guesstimating that it'll be at least 50%. So that would be about another 21,000. So for total, for costs that the solid waste department has paid will be $122,531. We have approximately $4,000 in personnel time due to that. So total right now is $126,531. So real close to what I estimated.
How many cubic whatevers is that
I did not write down all of the tons.
about?
I could get you that.
Okay,
It's significant.
I know it is.
Yeah. So if normal, a normal monthly grind for both transfer stations is around $25,000, and we were doing 52s and 42s, so that should give you an idea of the amount of waste that was coming in.
And where does that go?
That is ground up and made into hog fuel, so then it gets burned and then creates electricity. I believe most of it goes to the Kettle Falls, and then University of Idaho also uses.
Oh,
So we'll keep you informed. I'm sure Tiffany will be in front of the board when it becomes the point to, you know, where they have to sign the grant agreements and things like that for FEMA. And that's all I have for the wood waste. So moving on to my favorite part, because, well, I'm a numbers gal. The statistics for 2020. I did provide each of you a copy of the 2020 statistics. That one comes up with the first time that I've ever had to say this. The landfill took in over 200,000 tons of material in 2020. That was up 9.5%. Just for an example, 2019 was 182,677, and 2020 is 200,121 tons. So the waste is growing. Kootenai County is growing. To give you an idea of what that 200,000 tons looks like, it was 10,772 trailer loads. So
say that again,
10,772 trailer
trailer
loads.
loads.
So Lorraine, when you say a 9.5% increase, you mean year over year?
Yes.
Okay.
And to give you a reference, Chris, the 2017 wood or landfill waste was up 5.3% over 2016. 2018 was 5.8%. 2019 was 4.2%. And 2020 was 9.5%.
That's just kind of,
So, as I spoke in the budget meeting, when I told you that we've not had a waste stream decrease, that kind of gives you a feel for how much waste that Kootenai County is generating. Prairie's trailers, there are 48-foot trailers, and there were 4,078 trailers that went from Prairie to the landfill, and 6,694 40-foot trailers from the Ramsey transfer station down to the landfill. Switching over to our customer counts, the entire department managed 819,828 individual customer interactions. That's up 12.6%. So to give you an example, it was 727,814 in 2019. That is remarkable given the fact that it was in the middle of a pandemic.
What was the increase percentage-wise again?
12.6.
Thank you.
The Prairie transfer station, their waste was up 10.4% at 88,898 tons. And their customer count was up 14.2%. They processed 446 unique customer interactions in that year. The Ramsey transfer station, although the percentages are going to sound lower, I encourage you to listen to the numbers, because Ramsey has been in place for such a long time. Their percentages are lower because their numbers are higher. Ramsey's waste is up 6.2%. They processed 140,466 tons. Their customer counts were up 10.4%. They processed 378,994 customers.
Over a third.
Yes. Actually, Ramsey processes, just about 60% of the waste of Kootenai County, and almost a half, it's just shy of a half of all of the customers, because Prairie, and then we count the customers that go through the Chilco and the Athol sites. And so that's what makes up our customer count transactions. So busy year in 2020 for the solid waste department. Kudos to the staff. They did a remarkable job.
Yeah, amen. So that's interesting. So your tonnage is up 9.5%. The population is up somewhere between 2 and 2.5% on average.
Right.
So people moving in, every person moving in is producing 4 times.
Not so much.
I
because
know,
you have
it's
to-
not an
yeah,
easy
you have to take
comparison.
into consideration that
Yes.
in order for these people to move in, then the construction
That's correct.
is substantial,
Right.
and the construction debris that we have,
Yep.
the amount of waste that we diverted from the transfer stations to direct landfill. So if they have a very large project, let's say it's greater than 10 dump truck loads, then we're gonna divert them. We're not going to have them go through the transfer station where we have to load it back up and then pay to have it go down to the landfill. We will then divert them to go directly to the landfill, give them a little bit of a cost break with regards to what they're paying, and then it's not in the transfer station, so we're saving some money there. And that, the direct landfill discharge went up significantly in the last 2 years since we've implemented that process. And then this year, we'll be putting in, or we'll be finalizing, we already have the scales there, but we'll be finalizing an unattended system so that they'll have a card that the system will read, and they'll just automatically get weighed. Their ticket will print directly at the landfill. So that just kind of automates that and makes it a little bit easier for them to get that weigh process. So,
Wow.
any questions about the statistics? They're always fun.
They are fun. Very telling, too. Any questions for the staff? Hearing none? Public comment? 10:18, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Good job.